Hello, my fellow people of the plant. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Cannabinoid Connect podcast, your favorite podcast that includes industry-facing conversations with the industry's leading experts that aim to educate and inform the public regarding the plant's endless benefits. My guest today is Sarah Polansky. She's the founder at Prismatic Plants. Sarah Polansky, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am doing very well. Thank you for asking, and thank you for making time for me and the audience today. We're excited to talk with you.
I'm so stoked to talk with you today, Kevin, and let's get into it.
Let's get into it is right. So, Sarah, you are in the unique position where you are a business owner in the hemp/cannabis space, right? You're the founder of Prismatic Plants. But your position is unique in that you've kind of seen both sides of this industry, discovering cannabinoid therapeutics yourself. From what I read on your website, you struggled with chronic health issues in your 20s. So why don't you tell us a little bit about those specific issues that you faced and what kind of made you, come to where you're at today?
Yeah, so I think, it's really interesting. I think in this day and age, when you go to the doctor's office and you say you don't feel well, it can be kind of a detective story as in terms of trying to get to the bottom of things. And so, in my 20s, it was a lot of that. It was just, oh, I don't feel right, having a lot of fatigue. I ended up kind of identifying some gut issues that I had. And then things really hit a tipping point when I was doing some work abroad in East Africa. And I got a water parasite over there. And from there, it was just over prescription of antibiotics. When if you know much about the body, the immune system really resides within the gut.
Mm-hmm.
And so the antibiotics were, was essentially like just letting bombs off in the gut and killing everything, including all the good guys. And so from there, food intolerances got really severe.
Did that remedy help at all with that water parasite, like taking all those antibiotics? No,
it came back. It came back several times. Yeah. So it's kind of it's in like the algae family. So it would like go away and then bloom and then go away. And anyway, so I got to this point where it wasn't about chasing down this thing and trying to get rid of it, but it was really about like, how do I support my health? How do I support my body so it can heal itself? And I just started doing a lot of research into plants that just really help support you and your body and healing. And, on that journey, in correlation kind of with what was going on with work, I really started investigating cannabis and using cannabis.
Was it easy to find this information as you were on that journey of research, or like did you really have to do some due diligence to seek out and find anything that kind of showcased the efficacy of the plant?
Yeah, so this was probably about 6 years ago. So there was information about it, but it definitely was not as well researched and definitely not all over the internet like it is now. So it was a lot of using myself as a guinea pig and just trying different things. And CBD definitely didn't have very much information out about it. There's a few key brands that were definitely, the kind of key leaders in touting its healing benefits. And through using cannabis, I found that my anxiety was able to get low enough where there's such a connection between the gut and the brain that I was able to lower that enough and calm the nervous system that I could start to introduce more foods without having a reaction to it. And, then I kind of coupled that with some other things I was learning in terms of adaptogens, and adaptogens have been used for 3,000 plus years, and they are really meant to allow your body to respond to stress better over the long term. So, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry to cut you off, but one thing I think that I just find so interesting, that there's a pattern here, right? And what I see from guests that I've had on, and what you hear from the outside in terms of stress, right? Like stress is the number one killer of anything, because it starts with stress and then ailments kind of grow from stress, right? But yet cannabis is really something that can address that and help in so many different ways.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, I think at the end of the day, the way that I look at it is this society, that we're in, it prioritizes a go, go, go mentality, and it doesn't really leave much downtime. And we've tried to introduce things to help with that. Whereas before it was a lot of alcohol, and alcohol is a prime thing that kind of helped with that. But I think now people are looking to more holistic health methods. So obviously meditation came on big again, right? And became really popular. And now I think there's, a big reliance upon cannabis and the benefits of cannabis again, to help just reset your mindset on the daily, to say, hey, take a deep breath. Okay, I don't need to go, ha, 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 ha. I mean, we all feel that way, so we're all just trying to cram a ton of things in. So yeah, that's what I love about it. And, to get into a little bit more of those specifics, cannabis is addressing the endocannabinoid system, right? But then you have all the adaptogens that we're looking to, which, there's a ton of other wellness companies out there just playing straight with only adaptogens.
And for those listening and watching, if they're not familiar with adaptogens, why don't you explain what those are exactly, and how they I guess are similar to the effect that cannabinoids have in our body?
Yeah, sure. So adaptogens are a class of plant where essentially there's 3 different things that it has to hit in order to be classified as an adaptogen. And essentially those 3 things make it has to be safe for you. It has to be safe for long-term use for you. And adaptogens came about, the term was coined in the 40s, but they had been used for, like I was mentioning, thousands of years beforehand. And adaptogens are a type of plant where it existed in an environment where there was all these external stressors, and it had to build up resilience for itself in order to deal with those stressors. So that resilience that resides inside the plant, that when you then ingest it, you start to get that resilience as well. So for instance, rhodiola, which is one of our plants that we use, it's grown in high altitude, generally is where it exists. And so if you're going to be traveling somewhere where you're going to be in high altitude and you don't want to get altitude sickness, if you start taking this plant, 2 weeks or so before you go, it'll incredibly help with altitude sickness. So
wow.
That's just to give you a little bit of slice into kind of what these things are. But so what it's doing is when you take it internally, you have a system inside you called the HPA axis, and it's essentially the brain gut axis, or brain endocrine axis, and it's going to help regulate your hormonal response, your mood. So it's working on one system, and then you have cannabis working on the endocannabinoid system. So when we were coming up with this formula, we're like, wouldn't it be great to do this all in one? And that was quite the challenge, just figuring out how to make this live in one formula, because on a molecular level, the chemistry, you're dealing with fat soluble compounds and then water soluble compounds, and how do you make those mesh? So, we didn't want to do it in a capsule form. We wanted it to be a tincture so people could dose whatever is like the right amount for them. Because I think, Kevin, like that's the other thing early on, and doing all this investigation into the category and the industry, just with both with herbal medicine, like cannabis aside, herbal medicine, and then even in the cannabis industry is, dosage is so unique. And so when you have brands coming out there and trying to recommend a dose, it's really hard because your physiology is so different.
Everybody's body chemistry is different, right? And
it's so different. So yeah, for us, I love tincture formats because not only can you bypass the digestive system by going right into your mucus glands in your mouth, but you can level up or level down, for what's right for you.
Mm-hmm. And so when you were thinking about that combination of adaptogens and then cannabinoids, like, was that part of your initial discovery in your late 20s when you were kind of looking to alternative plant-based medicine as opposed to all the antibiotics that you were being prescribed?
Yeah. So my late 20s was just run of the mill kind of chronic health issues with digestive issues. And then it was like my mid 30s. I'm in my late 30s. I'm almost 40. That was kind of when I had the tipping point of this like event happen where then my health was having a hard time recovering. More diagnostic work was done. I came back positive for Lyme's disease, like heavy metals. I mean, it's just like, you name it, like the stuff was there that was preventing me from healing. And
it's crazy that even more so, like Lyme disease, after that water parasite, like more things were happening while you were still taking all those antibiotics. That's what's pretty crazy.
Yeah, well, I mean, the antibiotics, like for that issue, it's like a short-term stint, whereas Lyme protocol, they want you to be on antibiotics for like years. And I knew that's not the kind of protocol I would ever take. So
what would that do to your health if someone does, like, over time? Doesn't it just kind of, like you said, it kills the good guys as well, right? So that, I would imagine, just does long-term detriment to your body.
Yeah, I mean, look, like I don't want to speak for anyone else's health, but
Sure.
I'll say for myself, I'm just one to think about using plants in more of a supportive role versus looking to a pill or something that is going to kill off a bunch of stuff where you don't really know what the total side effects are. And I learned the hard way that there's a lot of side effects sometimes when you take that approach. And I think the same thing goes like when you have a bacterial infection, right? Like sometimes if it's a isolated event, taking some sort of strong antibiotic in that situation might be great. But if it's a reoccurring event and you keep going back to antibiotics, like you're not addressing the root cause. So for me, it always went back to, well, why is this happening to me in the first place? Why am I susceptible to these things? And how can I get to the root cause of feeling better? Right. So,
it's like becoming your own advocate for your health.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it goes back to like early on when I was saying in your first question about feeling like having to be a health detective. I mean, if you're not your own advocate, it's really hard for doctors, I think, to really understand what's going on with you when you're somebody that has chronic illness, because there's so many different things that could point to, and it really takes you tuning into your own body and to your own self to say, what's going on here, and paying a lot of attention and trying things and seeing what works and what doesn't work. And I think, sometimes I'm humbled by the complexity and magnificence of the human body. I don't know about like you or your listeners out there, but when you get into it, I mean, man, it's pretty awesome. Like our bodies and everything that it does and all the communication systems of, making sure that we run smoothly. And I just think we still don't fully have a grasp of how everything works. And I definitely don't think we have a grasp of how much the mind plays a role in helping us heal either.
I totally 100% agree with you. Yeah. I mean, my level of it is, not even close, but like even the science that we have, right? I think that we just still have so much more discovery and learning to do when it comes to the mind, the brain. I mean, even look at psychedelic treatment and kind of what we're learning there, right? When we look at psilocybin as it relates to PTSD, mental health, so it's just interesting, and it's good, and it's encouraging to see that people are looking to other types of alternative medicine, just because, like you said, not everything is made for one specific person, right? Our body chemistry is different as individuals, and so we all respond to different chemicals and compounds, and especially even doses. So
Yeah. Yeah. To your point about psilocybin, I'm right there with you. I'm so excited about what's coming out with all the studies being done around that. And I think I was just reading about like the amazing thing it does for depression, where because you're having this new experience, it helps make your neural pathways stronger. I mean, the fact that you could have a psychedelic that actually regenerates your brain, I mean, I'm floored. Like,
it's amazing.
yeah,
I mean, even like the Ibogaine clinics, right? Ibogaine comes from the Iboga plant. I think it's found in like Africa, and it's amazing how it helps with addictive behaviors and
yeah,
properties, right? When it comes to like opioid addiction or even drinking or smoking. I mean, not most medications or therapies are like overnight effects, but in some of these cases, right, everything's anecdotal and everything's different for each person, but some of these cases it is overnight. It's pretty remarkable.
yeah, I think it is remarkable. And, you know, that's the one thing that I really have to give the cannabis industry huge kudos for. And it makes me excited to be part of it. And it's why one of the reasons why I wanted to get in it is just the way that it's opening the door for plant-based medicine as a whole. So, psychedelics on the one hand, but also herbalism and alternative medicine on the other hand. I mean, I can't tell you like how many people I've talked to where they're like, I've never taken an herbal supplement, but I'm going to try this. And they try it, and it opens their mind to what you were saying earlier of saying, oh, I can be my own health advocate. Like I can tune into my own body, and that there's a connection to nature as well. There's a connection between our bodies and what's happening in nature and the medicines that are growing out there. And there being this symbiotic relationship that we don't really talk about much these days. And so that's like a huge thing that I love exploring with my company, and just the type of information I like putting out there is how important that relationship is, and just making sure that we're realizing we're part of Gaia, right? We're part of Mother Earth, not to get super woo-woo, but it's true.
It is true. And I do want to get into prismatic plants, and to kind of kick that segue off is it's interesting that you say that, the goal is to make us realize that symbiotic relationship between ourselves and nature, right? And it starts with first understanding ourselves, like what we've talked about previously on this episode, right? In terms of understanding how cannabinoids and adaptogens are basically married with us biologically, right? And how they kind of target certain receptors in different ways for us to feel and have moods and suppress certain ailments. And so that's step one. And then step two is understanding nature. And I feel like one language we lack as a human race is the language of nature, right? We're barely scratching the surface as to even understand what's happening out there. So it's very, very amazing to see that your company, Prismatic Plants, is really taking that approach to kind of bind the two.
Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, I mean, I think sustainability is also just one of our core pillars. And as a company making a product, it's, how am I supporting this planet that is giving me things? And so that's part of it. And as part of having that feeling, I need to also then be thoughtful of what is our relationship with the earth, both on a personal level, on a company level, on a brand level, on a community level. So it is something that we're thinking through all the time and making sure that on both the kind of community level education, things are happening there, but even behind the scenes in our supply chain, that we're making responsible choices, and that we're taking a really like do as little harm as possible type of approach.
Hmm. It's so important, especially for, I feel like, any cannabis company, right? I mean, that's kind of what the plant inherently stands for, because ultimately there's no waste when it comes to cannabis or hemp, right? You can use it medicinally, recreationally, use it to apply for material goods, right? And like textiles and ropes and plastics, and just the list goes on and on. And so tell us about your product specifically. So you mentioned earlier adaptogens combined with cannabinoids. I know that you have tincture products, Good Day and Good Night. Tell us a little bit about those.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Yeah, so in working with our herbalists and coming up with our formulas, we took kind of a yin yang approach, kind of thinking through a little bit of Chinese medicine and how Chinese medicine approaches health. And there's the day and wanting to feel uplifted and rejuvenated. And then there's the nighttime and wanting to calm and help support the body as you're sleeping. Because when you sleep, you're actually in repair mode. So it's interesting now, fast forward, like this company started in 2017, we launched in 2018. I might have a year off on that, so forgive me, but it's around there.
Mhm.
But we were really very, very early on, like one of the first companies doing day, like good day, good night. Now you see a lot of that, but at the time it was a lot of about other types of benefits that were being called out versus kind of the holistic of like what I want to feel like during the day and then what I want to feel like in the evening. So it doesn't seem like a novel concept now, but at the time there was much less of it. And so working with the herbalist, it was about, okay, from the herbs that we're bringing in, we want some of them to be very energizing. We want some nootropics in there. So a nootropic is a type of herb that helps with mental clarity and mental performance. And then we wanted, we really looked to our hemp to kind of also help calm that anxious edge. So if you're somebody that wakes up in the morning and you start going, and maybe you're the type of person where you wake up and the second your brain turns on, anxiety creeps up, which I don't know if that's you, Kevin, but it's definitely been a lot of my professional working life. And I knew it was a lot of other people around me. And so the thought was, well, how do we help people be productive, but be productive in a healthy way? Like, let's get rid of that like anxious mind happening in the background. Let's not rely on caffeine, which is just going to exacerbate it.
Right.
And let's give you some herbs that can help enhance your mental performance and your focus, your creativity that you need to happen during the day. While then having a lot of these strong adaptogens in there that the longer you take them, the better you're going to respond to stress over time. So it's kind of a works now and later type of approach. And that was something that was really important because I've taken a ton of herbal supplements in my life. And I think part of the issue with herbalism, especially compared to allopathic medicine, is herbalism, it takes a while. It's not a a quick fix. Like you need to say, okay, I'm going on this regimen for 2 weeks. I'm going on this regimen for a month. And then I'm going to evaluate like if it's moved the needle. And
is that because you just need to build your body and your system up with whatever those chemicals or compounds may be?
yeah, it's that. And it's also the fact that plant-based medicine is more of a nudge versus a quick U-turn to try to resolve the things. Like, again, I think in theory, most of the time, plant-based medicine is like, kind of like, let's get you back to homeostasis. Like, let me slowly just kind of nudge you, right?
Right.
And, again, like a lot of Western medicine it's more about intervention, and it's more about, we got something really off the rails here. We can't afford for it to go more off the rails. So we're going to intervene for your body and take care of it now. Right. And it doesn't, like I was saying earlier, there's definitely a time and place, but part of the issue is like, you may not be able to take into account the side effects that might happen to you individually as a result of that. So, with this, going back to like the formula, it was really excited to have the hemp be playing a role in there, because I knew that was going to help give people an immediate kind of release of that anxious mind quickly, and then having some of those supportive adaptogens for more of a long-term health benefit. And then we also included some edible essential oils. So you're getting some of those terpenes, which everyone in the cannabis world loves terpenes and knows terpenes. And those terpenes we picked, again, were very nootropic. So we have rosemary and lemon. And so they help, the second that they hit your tongue, they kind of quickly send a signal to your brain to like wake up, turn on, and tune in. So yeah, we love that.
Wow. Did you limonene, that is the terpene? You said that you mentioned two. Sorry, I missed that. What were the two?
Yeah, so we have for essential oils, we have
Yeah.
rosemary and lemon. So yeah, limonene and pinene are both big, and eucalyptol are all big terpenes that show up in our Good Day formula.
Good Day, right? Yeah. Wow, that is amazing. I love the way that the approach that y'all have taken with your signature products. And so where can people find and shop for these products if they wanted to learn more?
Yeah, prismaticplants.com. So Prismatic plants, plants.com. And it also, like, just check out our blog too. Like if you have any questions about how things are working or why we created it that I didn't get a chance to touch on today here with you, there's a lot more information on our blog as well.
Well, what is the blog about? I mean, real quickly, while we have a little more time left, what do you guys
Sure.
focus on with the blog?
Yeah, so the blog is called Strange Mind Blog, and we focus on a few different things. So we focus on a section that we call Mindings, which is just about how to live like a mindful life, but not in the kind of traditional woo-woo sense, but really exploring like these other modalities of thinking and how to get yourself into that. Then we have an education part of our platform. And so that is really where we explore the other cannabinoids that we have in our formula. So CBDA is something that's in our Good Day that a lot of people aren't using, aren't talking about. That was really based off of a lot of the research that we read and worked with some cannabis experts early on who are pointing us to the work of Dr. Raphael Meshulam and his work with all the acids and how beneficial they were. And then we have
what were the findings for CBDA in those studies?
CBDA, I tell you, I think we're going to hear a lot more about it. I know that he's working with a pharmaceutical company in the US to synthesize acids, and has found them to be much more effective than CBD or THC in helping the body heal from inflammation. And as we're talking about stress, like it's stress, it's inflammation, it's disease. Like
right. That's the pattern, right? Or the process.
The pattern. And so he's coming out and saying like, this is going to be a game changer for everyone, for society.
Wow.
So you can look that up and check out more information there. But ultimately, it's like we don't want this to belong to a pharmaceutical company. Like we want it to be a plant for the people, and we want people to be able to access it without just one pharmaceutical company being able to own it. And I know like Epidiolex is like, something any hemp manufacturer is dealing with in terms of being allowed to say CBD or whatever. There's a lot of stuff going on there. So yeah, I think there's that. And then the last section that might be interesting when people check out is a women in herbs. And that's just where we interview a wide variety of people and just kind of get their background and how they use plant-based medicine. And some of those people are cannabis users. Other people are just herbal enthusiasts. Other people are just run-of-the-mill people that, have plant-based medicine as part of their cultural lineage, and they're bringing some of that to their everyday practice. And it's all just about sharing experience and sharing how to use plants and different ways to use it that might resonate with you individually.
I love that. And I love the name, The Strange Mind. And it's just so important to be sharing those stories and those testimonials to continue to further progress and move the industry forward. I mean, for so long, there's been a lack of research-based evidence, and we've had to go off anecdotal data for so long. We're building more of that repository up now, but anything that we can do to educate people around the efficacy of the plant and other alternative plant-based medicine is so important. So it's awesome to see that y'all are doing that, Sarah. That's cool.
Oh, thanks so much, Kevin.
Yes. Well, before we wrap up, I want to leave the floor to you. Is there anything else that you want to leave the audience with before we hang up here?
I think the thing just to leave everyone with is, there's the world of cannabis, the world of CBD is overwhelming. There's a lot of great brands out there to serve you. And I think, just do your due diligence and making sure that that company is doing things the right way, doing it the way that resonates with you, and building a community that resonates with you. And don't be afraid to try things and to try things outside of cannabis and the plant-based world, and just investigate to what might work right for you. And of course, most of all, yes, be your own health advocate. Yes, 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 over and over and over. Ask a lot of questions every time you're at the doctor. Stand up for your health, I think, first and foremost. So
very well said. Yes, I agree. Be your own health advocate. Very, very well said. You're very insightful. Sarah Polansky, really enjoyed having you on today. Again, the founder of Prismatic Plants. I want to have you back on as things evolve, Sarah. So let's keep in touch, okay?
I would love that. Thanks so much, Kevin. Great chatting.
Yes, awesome. And thank you all for listening. Bye now.